In my work, I help thousands of people all over the world find skills and habits to help them to be happier. Doesn't mean that I'm someone who has life neatly sorted out, but as someone who understands what it's like to feel stretched, to feel uncertain, and to feel quietly overwhelmed, I also know how to get to the other side of that. Because most of us are carrying far more than anyone can see. So we're living in a time where stress isn't occasional anymore. It's constant. So it hums in the background of our lives. The state of the world, our work, our relationships, our health. We're living in a sense that we're always responding, we're always adapting, we're always trying to stay afloat. And somewhere along the way, many people start to ask themselves a painful question, which is, why am I not coping better? So if that thought has ever crossed your mind, I want you to pause right now, and I want you to hear this clearly. That question isn't the right one, because resilience isn't about coping better. It's not about being tougher. It's not about being unbothered by what's hurting you. Resilience is not something you prove by how much you can endure things in silence, which is what I see so many people doing. Real resilience is much more subtle, it's much kinder, and it's much more learnable than we're led to believe. See, for a long time, resilience was spoken about as if it were a personality trait. You know, as if some people are just built differently. They're stronger, maybe they're more stable, they're more capable. And the rest of us simply didn't get that particular wiring. And that harm has caused, that idea has caused endless harm. Because when we believe that resilience is something you either have or you don't have, then our suffering turns into shame. Because we assume that if we're struggling, it means that we're failing. And we start pushing ourselves in ways that actually make things worse. Many of you know my story. You know that I grew up in a very difficult situation. And at the age of 17, I was really suffering from depression. And my emotions were all over the place. And at the age of 17, I attempted to take my own life. So I know what that feeling is like, but I also know what it's like to completely turn that around to a place where I wake up every day excited and happy about the day. In fact, I live a level of happiness that I didn't know existed. So this is proof that, first of all, I didn't have the wiring for resilience. I learned it. I learned how to be happier, and you can as well. You see, what research and lived experience shows us is that resilience isn't about never falling apart. It's about what happens when you do. So it's about how you relate to pain. It's about how you interpret stress. It's about how quickly or how gently you're able to come back into yourself after life just kind of knocks you sideways. And here's the part that changes everything. Resilience isn't a single thing. It's not a slogan. It's not some kind of mindset. What it is it's a collection of inner skills that shape how your nervous system responds to difficulty. So the wonderful thing about this is resilience can be strengthened. It can be supported. It can even be rebuilt, right? And if you're feeling worn down right now, that is a wonderful thing to know. I'm going to encourage you to come to MoniqueRhodes.com, where you can do this happiness quiz that I talk about. You can do this assessment so you can see where your resilience and your happiness is at. I send you a personalized PDF that shows you where you are at in your life. So one of the biggest misunderstandings about resilience is the belief that strong people don't feel deeply. So in reality, resilient people feel everything. They feel grief, they feel fear, they feel uncertainty. The difference isn't what they feel, it's how they respond to, how they meet what they feel. So many people break down not because life's too hard, but because they believe that they shouldn't be struggling. So they fight their own experience. and they judge themselves for their reactions. So they tell themselves to get over it, or to be grateful, or just to keep going. And that in a battle against what's already painful, this is often what exhausts us the most. So resilience begins when we stop turning against ourselves. So when something difficult happens, the mind is asking a very fast, very powerful question of you. The question it's asking you is this dangerous? Not just physically, but emotionally. So if the answer feels like yes, your body moves into protection. So the nervous system tightens and the stress response stays switched on. And over time, this can leave us feeling anxious, can leave us feeling depleted and numb. And in a lot of situations, it leaves us feeling hopeless and overwhelmed. But when we learn how to gently signal safety again through our working with our mind, training our mind, which then helps our actions, which then helps our relationships, our system begins to settle. This is why two people can go through very similar experiences and have completely different outcomes. It's not about who had it worse, it's about who had support, who had meaning, who had moments of relief, and who learned, often unconsciously, that they could survive without losing themselves. So another key piece about resilience is this idea of the sense of agency. So this is not about having control over your life, but it's about having choice within it. So when we feel completely powerless, our mind begins to shut down. Our motivation fades. Our hope thins out. We stop trying, not because we don't care, but because trying feels pointless. So this state is sometimes called learned helplessness, and many people live there without realizing it. So resilience grows when we reconnect with even the smallest sense of choice. So you mightn't be able to change what happened. You mightn't be able to change other people. You mightn't be able to change the circumstances that you're in. But very often you can change how you meet the moment. So you can slow down your breathing. You can soften your shoulders. You can choose to speak to yourself with less cruelty. If you've worked with your mind, you can not run into all the stories that you tell yourself about what you believe is happening. So these choices, they might seem small, but they matter deeply to the nervous system. So they remind your body that you're not completely trapped. Another misunderstood aspect of resilience is the idea that it means I've got to face everything head on. But actually, true resilience isn't about bravely confronting every challenge. It's actually about discernment. So it's about learning the difference between the real threat and the imagined threat, between what needs your attention and what doesn't, between when to engage and when to rest. So highly stressed minds treat everything as if it's urgent. So everything feels like danger. Everything feels like it needs to be solved right now, right? I bet you relate to that. Resilient minds learn to pause. They learn to ask, is this actually harmful? They learn to ask, what can wait in this moment or today? Or they might ask, what would be kind to myself right now? So this ability to distinguish between threat and safety actually protects the nervous system from the constant overload. And it's something that can be practiced. So resilience is also deeply rational. We're not meant to do hard things alone. So one caring presence, it could be one person who listens to us without trying to fix things, or one person who stays in our life when things are uncomfortable. This can change the entire trajectory of a difficult experience. And this is why when we're having a difficult time, so often we go into ourselves. Like I often describe it like we go in like a crab. We hide in our little shelf. But isolating like this is really damaging. And this is why connection, even in small doses, is so healing. So sometimes resilience looks like asking for help. Sometimes it looks like accepting that you're not okay today. Sometimes it looks like resting before you're completely exhausted. And sometimes it looks like meaning, not forced meaning, not everything happens for a reason meaning, which I don't like, but the kind of meaning that slowly emerges when we ask, how do I want to live with this? What matters to me now? What kind of person do I want to be, even here? So meaning doesn't erase pain, but it can make pain survivable. So resilience isn't about becoming invulnerable. It's about becoming more flexible. It's about becoming more compassionate with yourself. It's about becoming more able to bend a little bit without breaking. And if you're struggling right now, that doesn't mean you lack resilience. It just means that you're human. And if you're feeling tired of trying to be strong, that's not a failure, but a signal that it's time for a different kind of strength. The strength to pause, the strength to feel, the strength to stop judging yourself because you've got a nervous system that reacts to stress. So resilience isn't a destination. It's a relationship with yourself. It's a relationship with difficulty. It's a relationship with life as it actually is. And that relationship can change. So you don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to fix yourself. You just have to stay willing to meet this moment with a little more kindness than the last. That's where real resilience lives. So I hope you'll come to MoniqueRhodes.com, do the happiness quiz. As always, I hope this has been helpful. Be kind, take care, go gently in the world.